Hi and welcome to the market analysis video for Traders Lead November 14, 2016. I'm Michael Newrock, and today we're going to go over some trade opportunities that may exist. This is the week after the US election. Congratulations or commiserations, depending on who you are voting or rooting for. Um, Regardless, it's been quite a shock for everyone concerned, particularly the um, the pundits, the polls, and the media that all got it wrong, predicting a Clinton win and a Trump defeat, and by a landslide at that. Anyway, it's not for us to get political, but to take advantage of the political situation and the turmoil that has been created. So we're going to run through some of the charts now and see just what opportunities are available. As always, we'll start with gold. This is the gold chart. We're on the 4-hour time frame, and let's take a look at it. It's plunged, quite a bit down. Now, we actually published a signal for a sell about around here, and it actually did hit target one. However, uh, we experienced a huge spike. And this was really during the election, and then I thought that it would continue to go up at that time, but it retraced quite dramatically, and as you can see, it's down at around 12.18. So let's go to the higher time frames. The daily is showing that we're in the middle of or at the start of a new daily downswing. And on the weekly, this is something that I've been predicting for a few weeks. I made mention that for the first time since January of this year, we've seen a crossover of the moving averages to the downside, which denoted that price was going to go down, which it has, other than this spike. Now, at this point, I'll just make a quick mention that you're seeing three different um, indicators on the charts. You're seeing the small arrows, which are the based on price flip indicator, the reversal candlestick pattern. You're seeing the big arrows, which are, actually, I'll get it on the 4-hour just to make it a little bit easier to see, which are the based on the trend catcher indicator, denoting new trends, and you'll see the macro levels, which are these horizontal lines here, that are based on the weekly and monthly time frames, giving us a guideline to where the institutions are placing their positions based on previous highs, lows, and consolidation levels. Again, on the weekly and monthly time frames, so they don't change too often, but other or compared to your recent highs and lows of your shorter time frames, they provide a much better indication of where those support and resistance levels lie. So back to possible predictions on the on gold, you can see that it is pretty much in a full-fledged downward move right now, both on the daily and the weekly, and that's what I play the most attention to. So, based on this weekly chart, you could see, uh, price really dropped down to this 1077 level, 1046, which was the last significant low. That was also based on this macro level here. So as for this week, it's a little low at the moment to consider getting into the action again. So I would be looking at seeing if there's a bounce back up to 1238 or even 1255 and seeing if I can catch another downward move. Either on the 4-hour or on the 1-hour, or maybe even on a shorter time frame, like on the 15-minute, for example. So right now, not the best of times to enter an order for a sell. But if it does get back up to 1238 or 1255, then certainly a good possible opportunity to get in on a short on gold. Euro has also been moving downward on the 4-hour. Let's have a look at it on the daily. Daily down as well, and on the weekly it is down. So down all the way on the euro currently. Again, it is at a really low point here, so probably best to wait as well to get up to this 1088. 87, sorry, 108.87 or 109.92 level before looking at that further. And you could get in on it as a perhaps a price flip trade or even just a straight macro levels trade or a trend catcher trade on a shorter time frame that's that combines these other indicators as well. That's probably what I would be doing. But for now, there's no trade there until we get the opportunity to go short again. The pound, on the other hand, has been moving up, and that has been a prediction that we have published fairly strongly in the last 2 weeks. I've stated before that the pound was in oversold territory, and it was likely for price to move up before moving down again. So on the daily, it is on an upward a trend trade, but not a very strong one. And on the weekly, it's still on this very severe, weekly downward move. So on this trade, you'd probably be looking at 128.01. If we get a rally up to 128.01 and you get a price flip at that point, or even just a straight macro level, if price reacts at this resistance level, could be a good opportunity to go short on it. But currently not, unless we see a move down. Let's look at it on the 1 hour. On the 1 hour, a new trend trade has formed, but again, you're seeing a price flip here, and possibly in the next 18 minutes, we could see another price flip on this 1 hour chart, which tends to suggest that we could see a price move up before it goes down again. Okay, euro pound has, as you may expect, been going down because euro's been going down, pound's been going up. Therefore, the euro pound pair has been moving downwards. Now, we've seen a little bit of consolidation here. This is on the 4 hour time frame. On the daily, it is downward moving, and on the weekly, it is upward moving. So it really depends. The battleground now is set at this 0.8636 level. If we see price pop up, you can see a price flip here on the daily chart from Friday. Excuse me, this was Sunday's chart, so not a lot of authority on that one because it's only a 2 hour session. If we see price break above 86.36, then that could be a good opportunity for a macro level trade. But bear in mind that it is against the daily downward move. However, it would be in line with the weekly upward move, and that's been in place since December 2015. So probably so far in the session, that could be a possibility. Euro pound has been upward on the weekly for a long time. If we see a move, break, and close above 0.8636, could be an opportunity for us to move up. And let's say, just hypothetically, if the trade was taken at, say, 86.50, place your stop at around, say if it was 50 pips, around 86. And there's to the next macro level, there's about 120 pips, just under 120 pips. So you'd place your target just prior to that macro level, which could act as a resistance. It acted here, as you can see here, as support. Previously. So, the risk reward there is pretty good. 50 pips or even less for your stop. You could go in as low as 30 pips, depending where it closed here and how conservative you want to be. But the reward there is very good. Over 100 pips. You could. What I always like to do is place a profit locking target about halfway to the next macro level. So even there, you've got around 60 pips. So it's still in that 1-to-1 risk reward ratio, which is still, strong. So potential there for an upward move if it breaks over 86.36 in the 4 hour and closes above that level. Pound Swiss. Now we did we did publish a signal for a long trade that was back on this trend trade, and it sort of meandered around for a while, and it actually did get stopped out here, which was a shame because it was only by a small amount of pips. But the general projection was correct because, as you can see, the um, the move has been well around 300 pips, 380 odd pips at its peak. And at this stage, there's no real sign of stopping. So I would be watching this one. If it goes towards 126.47 and breaks above, then it could go even higher. But if it finds resistance here, um, then we could see another move downward. And on the weekly, you can see a strong downward move, as you can see on all the pound crosses. But they have been at oversold levels. So whether it's going to go down now, I don't see that currently on these charts. Let's have a look at the 1 hour. Well, like here on the 1 hour, we've had two price flips, and we're seeing an emerging trend trade. If this closes next 14 minutes, around here we get some nice move down, say around 123.85 thereabouts. You've passed these recent lows here and here. Now you would be sitting on this consolidation level, but let's say hypothetically, if it closed at around that 180, 123.85, there's what about 75 pips for the stop, but the potential, say to this consolidation level here is about 160 pips, and down to this low, it's over 400 pips, 420 pips. So there's a good opportunity there on the 1 hour time frame for going short. However, you are going against the 4 hour upward move. Although there is room to move to this slow moving average. Let's have a look at that, because price tends to move between these values about 130 pips to that to that slow moving average. But again, it is fairly risky at this stage, and it doesn't look, it doesn't have that nice parabolic curve that I like to look at. It's just drifted and slipping down, so not necessarily the strongest of moves at this stage. I would be tending to think, because it is in the 4 hour and a daily upward move, that we could see a continuation of that up to that 126.47, and that level is going to be the line in the sand of whether this pair is going to continue to go upward, or whether it's going to resume the weekly downward trend. That's been very, very strong, but it has been going for quite some time. Okay, Aussie has had a pretty good crash, and this trend trade here, or this price flip here, were just absolutely beautiful. Particularly this trend trade. You've got about 110 pips to the macro level. But again, during the election, we have seen these pesky spikes that have been a little tricky to trade, and that's why we slowed down our signals last week. From this point, it is showing support here at the 0.7533 macro level, so that would indicate that we are going to see an upward move. But it is still, right in the midst of this 4 hour downward move. The daily is showing a new trend trade to the downside. This is very interesting because it has been bouncing along 75.33 and 76.76, these two macro levels, for quite some time, since showing really going back to June. So if price closes below 0.7533 over this next daily time frame, then we could get a move down towards 73.85. That would be what I would be looking at. And you can see here a move happening. Let's see if we can catch it on a 1 hour as a price flip. Possibly, if it moves back down, we'll have a price flip that forms. And on the weekly, it's been very, very subdued. It has been going really sideways again between the 75.33 and the 76.76 levels. It's just been really range bound between those two levels. So a difficult one to predict. Probably if it stays above this 0.7533 level, an opportunity is a macro level trade or a price flip trade combined with a macro level trade to move up back up towards 76.76. But just be aware that a new daily trend trade has formed. So, however, if it does move up, let's just say it moves up from where it is now to around, even to the moving average, there's 85 pips and then settles back down around here, then I would tighten my stops because there is what's going to happen is when this next daily bar closes, it's going to be a confirmed daily downward trend trade. So, it's right in the middle of these two macro levels. Good opportunity to write it down towards 75.33, but that's if it holds. So it's looking fairly strong at this stage. Even if it moves up 40, 50, 60 pips, it's still going to provide us with a confirmed daily downtrend. The Kiwi against the US, similar to the Aussie, it has crashed, quite significantly. This is on the 4-hour. On the daily, we're seeing a similar daily trend trade potentially forming with the fast-moving average crossing over the slow-moving average, but not quite yet. So it could be another 2 days before this really forms into a trend trade to the downside. And on the weekly, it has formed, but it is very subdued. There's no real strength in it. So at this stage, it really depends on what it is going to do depending on its macro level of 0.7116. Now you can see it provided support here and here, which was the catalyst for this new rally up towards 73.69. So we'll just have to wait and see what's going to happen around the next bar or two around this macro level. Aussie Kiwi. Okay, we've seen a move to the upside on the 4-hour trend trade. On the daily, a new trend trade could be forming over the next 2 days, and on the weekly, it already is in an upward trend to the upside on the weekly chart. So on this one, it's all pretty much up, apart from, well, yeah, no, it is 4-hour, daily, and weekly. Even the daily, it's an upward swing at the very least, if not, because it hasn't formed an upward trend trade as yet. So I'd be looking at it closing above 106.34. If it does, then there could be a good opportunity to get in with a low risk of, say, 25, 30 pips and going for this next macro level, which provides around 80 pips in profit. Dollar CAD. Dollar CAD's been going up. We've been bullish with the US dollar for some time. And although, again, I'll just point out, I did think that the US dollar was going to take a bit of a pounding and the gold would rally if Trump was elected. That did occur. It did occur in the first instances, but then you get what they're calling now the Trump jump of the markets, really getting in at perhaps bargain levels, and since then it's continued. And I'll tell you why. On the daily, it's been in the midst of this upward trend trade, technically, okay, since September and even beyond. If you can see it back towards around May, it's been pretty much going up during that time. And if we look in the weekly chart, you can see here that this is where it occurred, okay, on the trend trade, and of course with a price flip here on the weekly charts. And this 128.32 level has been strong and defending price and acting as the catalyst for it to move up. So you can see here, it's been upwards since 2014, apart from this downward move, but it's up again. So if we look back to current day, the next stop, if you like, would be at 136.06. Now, if it closes below that and just can't push above, then we could get a reversal back to 134.57, and that would be a great opportunity to go long on the US CAD. Okay, dollar Swiss. This is an interesting one. Again, we've seen upward swings. We've got a new upward daily trend trade just about to form, given another day. Even if it goes down from here, it will still form unless it dramatically goes, say, below these macro levels or below these moving averages. It's going to be a different story. New weekly trend trade forming, but it has been pretty messy. Um, at this stage, this is really interesting because you can see a price flip formed here, moved it down, a price flip here on this macro level, moved it up, and look what's happening here. If you've been using the price flip, you'll know, or watch my video on training how to use price flip. We have the indicator, of course, for all premium members to have access to all our indicators. But you can see here that, even if you're trading manually, if it closes below 99.16, there's a good opportunity for it to move down. And that's because it's found resistance at this 0.9916 level. And there's a price flip forming right here. You've got a nice long wick here. It's much bigger than the previous candle's wick. So, at this stage, I'd be looking at shorting it actually down to 98.39. If this price closes below 99.16, and of course that would result in a price flip. Dollar yen. The yen crosses have been all moving upwards after pretty much all year of moving down. Let's have a look on the daily. We can see nice trend trade caught here and here, and this is what I'm most interested in, and I've been talking about this for the last few weeks. If you've been tuning into these market analyses, we were looking at it just as it was coming up, finding support at this 101.65 level, getting closer, looking like it was going to form. Well, it's formed. That was a couple of weeks ago. So right on this candle here, okay, you can see the arrow denotes it, and of course, fast-moving average crossing over the slow-moving average. Boom. Now that is the first time that has occurred since again, late 2015. So there's a good possibility that we could see a run on the US dollar, particularly on the dollar yen as well as other yen crosses. But dollar yen stands to be a favorite among traders and could be the benefactor of some nice moves upward. So right now on the daily, it is looking up. I'd really like it to come back down to 105.41. If it does, price flip to the upside with the strength of the macro level acting as support, boom, that would be a good trade to take. At this stage, it is moving quite a lot, and it's showing no signs after this recent consolidation. But we're really early in the trading week, so let's see what happens. And if it does continue to move upward, or you've taken one of these longs based on the indicators and past analysis, then congratulations, it's a great trade. And it could very well go to 108.98 or close to. If it moves back down, a good opportunity to buy into it. Okay, but I wouldn't be looking at any shorts at this stage. Upward on the 4-hour, upward on the daily, and upward on the weekly. Okay. Euro yen. This could be one. I mean, the euro has been going down, but if we take another look at it, there could be that possibility of a rebound back up, and that could help the euro yen. Even if it doesn't, the euro yen could still rally upward on the weakness of the yen, and that's giving the yen crosses all upward potential. So if we look at the daily, we can see that a little bit more clearly. Daily upward trend and the weekly trend, you can see right here, it has, like the US dollar, formed for the first time since around June 2015. So that's a long time. It's well over a year and what, 4 months. So a possible opportunity that doesn't look real strong, okay, as like the US dollar looks stronger, but there could be an opportunity to buy into it at this 115.66 level, which is already found support on. So let's see if we can find this on a shorter time frame. The 1 hour, well, this could be a really nice trade, and what I would be looking at doing is seeing if this trend trade forms. Now, it hasn't yet. We've seen a price flip form, but I wouldn't be placing any I wouldn't be looking short on the euro yen at the moment. If on the next hour this this price moves up a little more, then we will see a moving average crossover between the fast and slow moving average crossover. We've got the 115.66 level, to our backs, providing support. It's always nicer if it's a little bit closer to the macro level, but it's still a pretty good trade. Let's say it closed up around here, then we're looking at about, see, you're only looking at about 40, 45, even 50 pips for your stop, and always look at the risk rewards. 40 to 50 pips for your stop. Let's say 50 just for round numbers. And we've got just under 150 pips to the next macro level at 117.53. So, if your risk is 50 pips and your reward is 150 pips, that means there's a 1 to 3 risk reward ratio. In other words, your reward is 3 times bigger than your risk. And that's always good. You really need to look at that on every single trade that you look at. Pound yen, similar but stronger than the euro because the pound is experiencing a bit of a rebound after being in those oversold conditions. So 4 hour is up, daily is up, and weekly has not formed yet. But we get this nice, really big push up above that 133.48 macro level from last week, and at this stage, it's looking very possible to head towards that 140.01, and that's what I'd be looking at. So if it moves back down, let's just say that it moves back down at this stage, it's a little bit of a reversal, moves back down to around here, gives a price flip, or at the very least shows support at this macro level. What do we got? We've got around 75 pips thereabouts for your stop, and or even 100 pips. Maybe reduce your lot size because your stop is a little bit bigger, say 100 pips on your stop, and around 600 pips on your reward. Again, consider putting a target halfway between these macro levels so you can at least lock in some profits at the very least. Okay, so that's actually looking like a good one between the euro yen and the pound yen. Pound yen is probably looking a bit stronger. Aussie, okay, it's again we see this giant correction here or giant move during the election. It was pretty exciting to watch between the votes coming in or vote results coming in and the charts. There was plenty to look at last week, but not necessarily the best time to trade because of the extreme volatility, during that period. So right now we're looking at the possibility of it moving up above 81.18. If it does, then we could get a move higher. On the 4 hour, it's technically still up, but that's just because the fast moving average is above the slow moving average. If we get price closing above 81.18, I'd be a lot more interested in looking at it. Daily it's up and weekly is up as well. So again, just like the dollar yen, the euro yen, and the pound yen, we have moves to the upside. So this 81.18 is the battleground now. If it gets above that, then there could be opportunities for it to move definitely towards 82, which is where recent closes were, and then upward towards 83.55, particularly if the Aussie gets a bit of a bounce from its low positions right now. Kiwi yen is a little bit different. It's weaker than the Aussie yen, downward on the 4 hour, and if it finds resistance at 76.14, we could see a move down. Daily, it is up, so it's a bit contradictory, and weekly is up. So again, during this session, we're seeing a lot of crossroads, a lot of pairs in their crossroads. Which way is it going to go, up or down? And it's a little tricky to tell, but I hope you're getting some insights there on the levels to watch and what to do potentially should price close above or below a particular macro level. In this case, if it closes below, there could be a move continuing downward. If it closes above, then we could see a new move upward. If we looked at it on the 1 hour, let's say a 30-minute, 15-minute. Okay, now we're starting to see upward short-term moves. But again, we needed to see 76.14. So you get a different picture here when you're looking at it on the shorter time frames. And this could be a beautiful trade. If it let's say closes at 76.20 above over the next couple of 15-minute candles, we've got a stop of only 20 pips and a potential of around 110 pips to the upside. Okay, so that's over 5 to 1 or 1 to 5 risk reward ratio, which it's always very, very nice to do. Make sure your stops are small and your profits are big. Swiss yen 4 hour, it's moving up, daily is moving up, and weekly a new crossover has occurred. So honestly, for all the yen crosses right now, they're all either forming on the weekly or about to form on the weekly. So it's just a matter of choosing which one at that particular time. And there's more chances of it going up right now than down. So again, very high point in the 4 hour. We could see a move down towards 106.79, and that's not going to affect the weekly charts really at all. Coming down here, it's still going to look like it's going long. And even on the daily, it's not going to affect it as far as it's still going to be an upward moving trend. Okay, so it's just a matter of getting in at the right time. But I would be looking at long opportunities in the Swiss yen. Much like the other yen crosses, and CAD yen finishing off the crosses on the yen, upward on the 4 hour, upward on the daily, and a fairly new recent upward trend trade, and on the weekly about to form. After this week, we could see a new weekly trend trade form. So that's going to give all of these yen crosses all crossing at around the same time on the weekly is just going to give further, put further pressure on the yen and drive these yen crosses upward. Okay, Euro Aussie, bit of a tricky one at the moment. It's sitting below this 143.46. If a new 4 hour trend trade occurs, then we could see a downward move. Let's have a look at the daily. It's down on the daily as well, and down on the weekly. So probably more pressure at this stage for a downward move on the Euro Aussie. And that would make sense if we see a rally on the Aussie, in particular, the Aussie against the US. Pound Aussie, a little bit different. Again, the pound is a little stronger than the euro right now, like we saw on the pound Swiss, as opposed to the euro pound, and on the pound yen as opposed to the euro yen. So 4 hour, it's upward. Daily, it's upward, and weekly has not formed. It's still heavily down. But you can see here that this 166.45 is that battleground right now. So if we see it on the 1 hour, you can see a new trend trade emerging, possibly. But for that to happen, we'd need to see price come down to around here, and that could be a good downward move. Let's say it came down to around 165, 80 thereabouts. About 100 pips on the stop. Now on these pairs, you do tend to have more pips on your stops and on your profits than on, say the euro, the straight euro US trade. So 100 pips on the stop, around 320, 330 pips on the reward to the next macro level. Again, do yourself a favor and lock in some profits as it gets to that around that halfway point between the macro levels, and could be a nice opportunity there for a move down towards 162.45 or even lower. Euro, and actually, let's just go back to the Euro Aussie, and we can see that a new trend trade has formed already on the Euro Aussie, the Euro being a little bit weaker than the Pound Aussie, as it has been with other pairs that we've looked at. And this is just formed. We need to wait. We could take it now, or we could wait another 50 minutes to the next hour and see if it's confirmed. So 70 pips to for your stop thereabouts, and around 240, 250 pips for your profit. But it probably best to wait at this stage to see if that's confirmed or not. Okay, Euro Kiwi. Now the Kiwi was weaker than the Aussie, so it's logical that we're seeing a slight different view here. Upward on the 4 hour. It's downward technically on the daily, but price has been pushing up above this moving average, and that's a slow moving average, making it even more of importance. So it's a bit tricky, this one. Weekly down, so down on the weekly, technically down on the daily, apart from the spike upwards. And in that case, I'd probably be looking, the downward swing has started already on the 4 hour. So, maybe again on a shorter time frame, you could see an opportunity for it to move down. See, even on a 15 bar trend trade, there's a good reward for the risk on that particular one. K pound Kiwi, interesting. This one has just hit the 177.07, and for the last couple of bars has been hanging around or striving towards that high, just above, just closing above. Sorry, the high just below the next high and closing above. Next bar closing below, high just below, and here we are at it again. So on the 4 hour, it's upward. On the daily, it's upward, and on the weekly, it's down. So it really depends on this 77.07. Probably too early to get in on it at this stage, because if it pushes over 177.07, we could see another upward move. If it continues to find resistance at this level, then perhaps look for a price flip on either a 4 hour or a 1 hour, or even on a shorter time frame, look for a possible new trend trade to the downside. So, I think there's probably a possibility of it moving down from here, and it's at a good level to get in on as well, say on the 4 hour. Yeah. Okay, Aussie CAD, down on the 4 hour with an upward swing, up on the daily and up on the weekly. So I tend to move towards the upside on this. So let's see, on a 1 hour, there could be a new trend trade forming. We had a price flip occurring just recently. Let's have a look. On the 15, it's already happened. And the 30-minute, it's already happened as well. So here's a nice one. It's a good opportunity, to look at different time frames. So we've got around 35 pips in the stop, 120 pips to the next macro level. That's a good trade. Again, because of the strength of being upward in the daily, look how long it's been moving up for. And on the weekly, again, it's been moving upward for the last 5 months. So taking a look at it on the weekly, it looks pretty obvious to me that it's gravitating back up and to this 103.50 macro level, and to test both the level and the recent high from last week. So, okay, that's a pretty good trade as well. We've seen a couple of good trades today. Obviously, the market changes on a dime, so it's important to have a look at the charts on a daily basis. But hopefully this will give you some good insights into trading this week and how to go about it. EuroCAD, we're seeing support at this 146.44 level on the 4 hour. Sorry, we're seeing a new downward trend trade form, but this one I'm not too crazy about, because you've got the fast moving average moving down and the slow moving average moving up. So there's a real contradiction there. And on the weekly, it's been fairly subdued as to which way it's going. It's been zigzagging more than anything. So I would probably leave this one alone. There's better opportunities, but if it does move above 146.44, then you could get an opportunity for it to move up towards 148.92. Okay, and finally, pound CAD, a little bit stronger, up on the 4 hour, up on the daily, and an upward swing on the weekly, even though it's been moving down for quite some time since about November, December, January uh, of this year, or November, December of last year. So let's look at it. Yeah, I see on the 1 hour a new trend trade is starting to form. If this does move down, if it does move down, then that would be a great opportunity to wait for it to get closer to this 167.24 level and take it as a macro level trade to the upside. Okay, so some great opportunities today. Let's take a look back at the Aussies. It has been moving up, continuing to moving up, and that's going to play a role in some of those other trades that we've been looking at today. Alrighty, until next time, good trading, live well, and I'll see you soon.